Chapter 4. The Button. The cold of the pantry floor pushed its way up through my pile of blankets. I shivered and watched the plume of my breath in the air. I was a dragon. I was a firebird. I was not a man who smelled and shouted and blew cigarette smoke through the 2 holes in his nose. I pulled my black radio from beneath the blankets and raised the shiny and silver antenna to attention. Thousands unemployed, homeless and starving. Communism ripping the fabric of our great society. But I'm not homeless or starving, I said to the voice in the radio. I have my mother, my blankets, soup with cabbage. True, we no longer had bread and sausage with our shishki, our cabbage soup, and it had been weeks since my mother had worked. But she still smiled, although less often now, and called me her little bear. I turned off my radio. I folded first one blanket, and then the other just so. I pulled on the famous basketball player shoes my mother and Bishka Ina gave me last Christmas. My toes pushed against the ends of my shoes. I could no longer wiggle my toes. I stood in the doorway of the pantry and listened. And sniffed. Was my mother cooking kasha? Or was she crying? Was he yelling, calling her stupid, lazy cow? Or was he gone? Sometimes, after a big fight like last night, he would leave. And, for a short time, everything would be as it should. Kasha for breakfast, my mother smiling just a little. Come keep me company in the bread line, she'd say. Or, let's practice your reading. Or, tell me a story, little bear. I heard angry voices shouting from the television. I smelled cigarettes and I peered into the sitting room. So, his voice said, the little cockroach finally crawls out of its hole. He lay sprawled across the couch, his ugly feet bare, a glass resting on his fat belly. Where's my mother? I asked. My eyes darted from the sitting room to the bedroom and back to his face. He did not take his eyes from the snowy screen of the television. Gone, he said. She's gone. My heart thumped and thumped against my chest. When will she be back? I whispered. He turned from the television and eyed me a long moment like a cat eyeing a mouse. Never, he said. I waited and listened and watched for my beautiful mother. I listened for the click of her heels coming down the hall. I watched for the brilliant flash of red coat. When he left at night, I searched the apartment for clues. If she took this, it meant she would be back in a week. If she took that, it would mean she would be back any day. Everything was where it had always been, except my mother and her red coat. She was gone. Her coat was gone. She must have gone further to find potatoes and cabbage for the soup, or she looked to find a new place for us to live, far, far away from him. Something winked from behind the trash bin in the bedroom. I got down on my hands and knees, stretched out my fingers around the paper wrappers, and past empty bottles on the floor. My fingers curled around something hard and smooth. I opened my hand. A button from her coat. I held the button up to the light and ran my thumb across its black, shiny surface. And next to the button was a smear of red. Not the beautiful red of her coat, but a dark, stickly red. I touched it to my fingers with my finger. It pulsed like a heartbeat, and it whispered my name. "Why are you grubbing around on the floor, cockroach?" I tore my eyes away from the whispering, pulsing red and looked up at him. He kicked at me with the toe of his boot. I held up the bottom. "It is from her coat. Her red coat." I held up the button. "It's from her coat. Her red coat." "Bah," he said. "So what? Who cares?" She loved her coat," I said, following him into the kitchen. "She loved the buttons. She would not let the coat be without a button," I pointed out. He grabbed a hunk of cheese from the refrigerator. He slammed the door shut. My stomach growled. My mouth watered. I clutched the button in my hand. He looked down at me, his mouth full of rotten teeth and cheese. He cocked his head to one side. "Where do you think your mother is?" he asked. I shook my head. He smacked his lips and belched. I laughed. My mother never allowed me to belch. "I think," he said, "she went to the city." I frowned. "Why would she leave without me?" He unscrewed the top of the bottle. "Who knows why women do what they do? You're a little useless cockroach, and she's a lazy, stupid cow." I drew myself up tall. I squeezed the shiny black button until it bit into my hand. "She is not lazy and stupid. You are!" My head slammed into the kitchen floor, and a million stars filled the sky.